Hello, welcome to Catholic Life, Ordinary People with Extraordinary Faith. I'm Deacon Jodi. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we're going to talk about something that I literally know nothing about, but we're all going to learn a lot about in detail today. I have a special guest here today, Dr. Lindsay Mullins. Dr. Mullins, welcome.
Thank you.
Dr. Mullins has more degrees than a thermometer, so I'm not going to tell you what they all are. But she's awesome, and she's got a PhD, she's got a master's, she's a nurse practitioner, she does all that good stuff in medicine. But geriatric, and there's a word for it, gerontology.
That's
you taught me
right.
that today.
That's right.
And you are the Sister Agnes Marie Fitzsimmons Endowed Chair of Gerontology
That's
at
right.
FranU.
That's right.
Which is awesome, because whenever you get a chaired professor, that's the person that is called to a special duty, and you're called to a special duty. So before we get started, let's start with this. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I now know where you grew up, but tell the folks where you grew up.
Okay, thank you. I grew up in Monroe, Louisiana, and had a very typical upbringing in a small town where most of our socializing happened through the family. And so many weekends after church, the grandparents' house, running around with the cousins, grandmother cooking. So that upbringing really, I didn't know, but contributed to where I am today, just having a special place in my heart for older adults and seeing that value of family and just the whole life cycle. I went to LSU for my undergrad and attended nursing school in New Orleans at LSU's nursing school there. And then fortunately went to Washington, D.C., got my master's as a family nurse practitioner at Georgetown University. And then when my husband and I got married, my husband, who's a Baton Rouge native, he says, "We're not staying in the Northeast anymore, I'm ready to come home." So we came back to Baton Rouge, and I did my PhD here and began teaching at what was at the time Our Lady of the Lake College, and that was in 2009. So now we're Franciscan missionaries of Our Lady University, and I've been there for about 12 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when I got the information about the program and you, to be totally candid, I called my wife and said, "Do I need to ask for anything for your parents?" I know you get that from everybody, but I think everybody watching has some experience with aging folks, either their parents, their grandparents, friends of a friend, or somebody. My dad and his recently deceased wife, they're in we call it the geriatric medical process. You know, they go to the doctors, the geriatric clinics, and all that kind of stuff. That's not exactly what you do, but it's sort of, kind of, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. So one of the great things about the endowed chair position, like you said, it gives me the freedom to focus solely on one thing, which is the care of older adults. And where I feel very blessed and privileged is that the Franciscan sisters saw that way back when and said, we are going to set up a chair position at our university that will be just for this purpose, for the older adults of Louisiana and beyond if possible. So there was a lot of foresight there. The position itself encompasses quite a lot. So not only do we help partner with the community, and particularly communities of older adults, whether that be through their faith-based organizations, whether that be through their workout at the YMCA. And we say, what do y'all need? What information do you need to help stay living independent for as long as possible? And then we, with our background in education and the health professions, go and we get that information together, and then we offer a series of health promotion talks. And they come and they learn. And the thing that we love about that part of it, the community engagement, is there is so much information out there. It's mind-boggling. So we get to be sort of the Google search, if you will, and filter through everything and bring the stuff that's evidence-based and help older adults connect with the resources that they may need, but also provide them evidence-based information that they may need. So that's how we engage directly with the community. We do lots of other things too, but that answers your question on the community engagement. And I was even telling you before we went on air, I had the privilege of partnering with the diocese and assessing what their needs were. What were the needs of the priest? And they came back to us and they said, our adult children, our parishioners that are adult children come and say, how can I help mom and dad? So very much like you and your wife in the situation that you're in right now. I don't know how to link them with specific home services, or they can do some things but not everything. What do we do? How do we navigate that?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily have all the answers. I provide the ones I do, and then myself and Rachel Abity, who is our program coordinator, she's a nurse by training, we go and we find that information for them. And that's just, if we can ease their worry and shoot them in the right direction to help care for the older adults, then I have to tell you, I don't feel like it's work. I really don't. It feels like such a blessing.
Uh-huh. So when someone is getting up in age,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different dynamics start to happen,
Mm-hmm.
health-wise, job-wise, environment-wise. Sometimes they got to move or whatever. And from what I read, it's kind of like y'all hit all those, the cultural, all those little avenues. And I think that if the people know that there's a resource, they want to know how to tap it.
Yes, yes.
You know?
And so we thought about just that. We said, okay, how are we going to let the community know that we are here to serve them, whether you are an older adult yourself, or you're an adult child caring for an older adult, or maybe you're a student who wants to work with the older adult population. How do we let folks know that we're here and we're eager? So we developed a website out of FranU. That's our website's www.gerontology@franu.com. And there's a place for everybody. It says if you're a student, click here. If you're a faculty, click here. If you're an older adult, click here.
I love those.
And then, I know, which one are you? And maybe you're all three. You could be, so you could click on all three buttons. But in that way, people are able to know how to get in touch with us and reach us, student, older adult, parent, whomever it may be. And we provide an update on the things we have going on at the university there. And we hopefully we'll talk about some of those things because there's some exciting stuff going on. But we also put up our upcoming events. Now with the coronavirus, many of our in-person events are postponed for now, just out of an abundance of safety. But we hope in the spring we'll have an opportunity, if it's not our usual in-person, face-to-face, lecture series of which we loved because we got to have food and everybody likes food.
And now we can't do that.
I know. I mean, whether it's that way, which we love, or it's some hybrid way, we will be doing our health promotion series again.
So when you talk about the health promotion series, does that include, and this is just me fishing,
I like it.
When you see these things, if you're over 55, show up at the such and such a place, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Is that the kind of stuff you're talking about?
So, yes.
Some of that? Yeah.
Above and beyond that. So, for example, some of our community partners that we have worked with, I'm a parishioner at St. Aloysius Church, and so they have a senior adult ministry there, and they already had in place twice a year where they get together, banquet style, and whether they have a speaker or it's just for fellowship, that's always been loose. Well, we partnered with St. Aloysius, and then we asked the senior adults, what information, health information, would you find helpful? And like I said, we went back, our little team, and pulled together all the health information around that, and then we offered it in a series. So typically, it's a series of like 3 talks, typically building on each other in complexity, and of course there's the food. So that's just one example. I mean, we've also partnered with like the YMCA. We've partnered with Zor Baptist Church in Central. So
Right.
it starts with a relationship of someone who expresses interest, and then we kind of take it from there.
When you have, are there any of the kind of events that you have where you do any screenings and stuff?
So there are absolutely health fairs.
Health fairs, that's...
And where we play a role in that is if a health fair is going on. We partnered with an organization called Grandparents Raising Grandchildren about a year and a half ago, and they have an annual conference. So at the annual conference, we had our nursing students come in, and they would do screenings kind of in between breakout sessions.
Wow.
So that's an example. Do we host health fairs? We haven't done that yet, but if that was a need for the older adult population at a community organization, and we had the resources to meet it, then we would do so.
That's pretty awesome. I love the way you integrate the students into there.
Oh, it's so necessary.
Because the students then get, they get access to experience, which oftentimes you don't get when you're in an academic environment where it's all about the head and not about the hands.
Well, and the beautiful thing about being at FranU, where our mission is to form and educate Franciscan servant leaders, well, then we take it a step further in Gero and we say we want to form those servant leaders to be knowledgeable about healthy, active, successful aging. And I just have to throw this in there because it's something that I do a lot of work around. The way older adults are viewed in different cultures around the world is different as night and day. So what we're finding in American culture is that, you know, our young people at colleges and universities are not necessarily interacting with older adults the way, let's say, a culture would in India, where the family lives all in one geographic area and they continue to take care of each other, so it's very integrated. So their experience in school interacting with older adults is even more important here, so we make sure to infuse that.
We're going to take a short break.
Okay.
You good with that?
I think so.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. We're talking to Dr. Mullins, who is a very, very important person.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
She's the Sister Agnes Marie Fitzsimmons, Endowed Chair of Gerontology at FranU. And we're going to be right back with Dr. Mullins. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
You know there's a light that glows by the front door. Don't forget the keys under the mat. When childhood stars shine, always stay humble and kind. Don't expect a free ride from no one. Don't hold a grudge or a chip, and here's why. Bitterness keeps you from flying. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie. I know you got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. Yeah.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Another summer day has come and gone away from Paris and Rome, but I wanna go home. be home tonight. I'm coming back home.
Welcome back to Catholic Life. I'm Deacon Jodi Moscona. Thank you for staying through the break. Today I have the pleasure of talking to Dr. Mullins, Lindsay Mullins, who is a chaired professor at FranU. It's a big long name. We want to save our time.
That's right.
And we're talking about gerontology.
That's right.
Got it.
You got it. A+. Check.
All right. So see if it's all that education I told you about. Little off-air joke there. Sorry. Before the break, we were talking about family units and the aging, the impact of the aging on the other generations. And I was sharing during the break, I was going to tell you this. So we downsized.
Right.
We moved into a smaller house, and almost immediately my daughter had a situation where she needed to move in. Her husband was going to deploy.
Oh, goodness.
She had 2 kids.
Oh, my.
So that's 3 generations. And then my wife's folks got sick, and they had to move in with us. So we had 4 generations under one roof.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
it is amazing that now the little ones and my daughter have moved to Kansas, and we FaceTime, and those kids want to talk to Grammy and Gramps. They're great grandparents. They have had an impact on them by being together. You don't see that a lot these days.
You don't see that a lot. And as I was saying before the break, at Franciscan University, you know, in the Catholic tradition, and we look at the family, we look at the whole life cycle, you know, God intended us to live together in family and to take care of one another. He didn't say it was going to be easy. He didn't say it was going to be easy at all.
Right.
But the inherent goodness of that comes through, and we see that less and less in our current culture, where whether you have the breakdown of the family unit for things like divorce or separation, or families have to move out of their home, their town of origin, to get better jobs, better access to different things. So back in, as I was telling you, my bringing in a smaller town where, you know, grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins, we all lived within a, you know, few mile radius of one another, and that was our main source of socialization and really just sharing of values. So because we don't see as much of that, it's even more important that our students get to interact with older adults who aren't just sick in the hospital, for example, with our nursing students,
Right.
or who are maybe recovering from a stroke and learning to walk again, like in our DPT program. All very important, but we also need to see what it looks like for someone to have healthy, active, successful aging, and that can look like a lot of different things. So we really take great strides to make sure through all of our educational programs at the university, our students are not only getting in-person experiences, but also they're learning, you know, the brain stuff, the didactic stuff, the content and the knowledge, so when they graduate, people can say, these graduates from FranU, we know they are minded to take care of our aging in whatever capacity they finish their programs.
You know, just in the last week, we were moving and had to go to the store a lot. And on 3 different occasions, the person that helped me were older gentlemen who said they are retired and they're at the store for 5 to 6 hours a week to stay active.
Right.
Staying active.
It's so
one of the words you
important.
just
It
used.
is. Well, and when the retirement age was set, and I'm not going to botch the year, but it's been many years ago, but at the time the retirement age was set, the lifespan was 68 years of age. So a person would work until they were 65, and then maybe they would have a few years to be retired. So now with the population aging, which is unprecedented, we expect by the year 2050 that the number of people 65 years and older will outnumber those 5 and younger. So what we're seeing is that a person may retire at 65, but they may have 20 or 30 more years. And it isn't necessarily natural to not be using your God-given gifts and talents in some way. And it's going to be different than when a person was a 20-year-old, maybe mother, or a different job, or than being a mother as a female, or for men being the breadwinner. It might be different, but we see a lot of challenges with that, and we talk a good bit to that about whether it's transitioning into retirement, or what does healthy, active, successful aging look like. And so we don't want to see a person who retires then become depressed because they aren't sure, okay, what's my purpose now? I mean, so much of our culture is identified by our work.
Right.
So there's a shifting there.
Yeah,
that
and you know,
happens.
that's true, because this is in one of my talks I give. Somebody will say, are you a lawyer? I'll say, no, I'm not a lawyer. Lawyering is what I do.
Yes.
I am a
Yes.
God-given human being with special talents and gifts, and I'm a child of God. That's who I am. That's what I am. What I do is different than who I am. And you're right, when these people lose what they do, sometimes they lose their identity, because as a society we tend to attach what we do to who we are.
Well, especially with males, you know, I mean, God gave you the hard job of being, you know, the head of the house, and so a lot of that deals with work, and that's very important. But it can be difficult when a person has worked their entire life and that has been so critical to the family, and then they come to retire and it's like, what now? Who am I? And some of that's going to happen. So it's, do I have the skills? Do I have the knowledge to make that transition?
Right.
We've actually been working with the diocese, which is such a amazing partnership. I feel so blessed that that's our main partner because of our Catholic identity. And we're working on a priest retirement workshop. And so that is to help priests who, I mean, talk about people with their work. I mean, that is their everything. And so how do you transition when you aren't, you know, preaching each Sunday with your congregation around you? You know, what does that look like? It's not finished yet, so.
You know, I actually just had this conversation yesterday with my pastor that I work for.
Really?
He was talking about the choice he has to make of when to retire, when not, why to retire, why not. We had this very conversation. I mean, yes, it's on their minds.
It is on their minds, and I'm not saying, you know, retiring from being a lawyer isn't difficult, but to retire from being a priest who their whole formative years have been to pick up my cross and carry it and serve. And it's not that they don't do that still in retirement, but what does that look like? How does that look differently? And I just, you know, I think we really have to take care of our priests.
Okay, so let's do a little education for our folks.
Okay.
When you talk about the aging population, where does that start?
Ooh. Depends on who you're looking at.
Oh,
Okay.
come on.
So AARP will register you at age 55, and you can get a discount at Calvin's for being 55 and older. So there's that. But in the medical world,
And we can get chicken salad.
that's right, at a discount on Senior Tuesday. I think it's Tuesdays. I hope I didn't misquote that. But the medical community defines it as 65 and older.
Okay.
And, you know, it's so funny, though, because to think about the people I know who are 65 and older, I would no more feel like they are old than a man in the moon.
Right.
But that is how we define it.
Okay. So my thought is it shouldn't be an age-based definition. It should more be a functional definition. Where are you in your functional life? Health, career, culturally, where you live, all those things matter. How do y'all view it? Is that kind of how you view it?
Well, but of course we're in the health professions, so I mean we can see people who are in their 20s who are very chronically ill. So you can't necessarily define it by your health status. You know, you may have you may have some people who call into the show who may be 100 years old and they know how to put things together and they know exactly who and where they are and they could walk circles around us. So you do have to stick with the age in the medical world because there are some natural processes that begin to change in the body, whether you are appearing physically healthy or not. You know, generationally, how things may begin to change. You know, for the most part, your children are going to be adults. You may be starting to have grandchildren. I'm saying for the most part. So we do look at it as 65 and older, but how we meet the need of the older adults
Changes
we're serving,
by the
we ask
individual.
them.
Yes,
so
I
that's
gotcha.
so important to the cultural piece.
Right.
So, yes.
And the reason I wanted to say that, throw that out, is because there's people watching saying, I wonder if I fit in that category. You know, I don't feel like it, you know, and so
Yes.
that's kind of why that is. So let's, we got 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, let's throw out whatever you want to tell the folks
Okay.
about your program.
Okay. I think I would end in summary in that it is possible to live healthfully in whatever health state you are in. And what we are aiming to do is to help communities of older adults have the knowledge, the skills, and the resources to be at that state of health that they desire to be. What resources do they need? Specifically, if they want to live independently as long as possible, how can we link resources and provide information to help make that happen? And then, of course, our students just infusing through their programs experiences with older adults. And the last thing I'll say is we're starting our first abroad program this summer with
Cool.
our sister university in Portugal.
Wow.
And so that is one of our kind of keystone things that we're doing. It's an international healthy aging course.
Don't you need to send a deacon with them?
Well, I'm kind of looking for chaperones, Deacon Moscona. I don't know. I think you're busy, though. You've got to run this fabulous show. But that really is capturing it all. Successful aging in other cultures, infusing it for our students, and then bringing it back for our community members here in Baton Rouge.
So I think that the folks need to know how to get in touch with you.
Okay, well, we do have the website. I'll say it slowly, www.gerontology@franu.com.
And we'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah, and then they could also email us at gero@franu.edu.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
I have
It's been
learned
my
so much
pleasure.
today, and I hope the folks have too. It's been a pleasure meeting you and
Okay.
getting to know you a little bit. And thank you for joining us today on Catholic Life. As always, we try to bring people that are immersed in their life of ministry. Ordinary people with extraordinary faith is not just a buzzword, it's who we are, and that's you. And
Oh,
thank you
thank
again
you.
for staying with us. And until next time, God bless everyone.